You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is July the 2nd, 2019. With you today is myself, Carl, and with me, as always, Stevie Nick.
What up, Carl?
Oh, it has been a frantic last 24 to 48 hours in the world of the NHL.
I need to ask you a question, Carl.
Okay.
Sincerely, I want you to tell me, how are you doing?
You know what, Nick? I was doing great up until late yesterday afternoon.
Oh, Carl, are you really that upset about it?
I am legitimately, I am legitimately upset about this Tyson Barrie trade that we have going on our hands here. Yeah.
Why? Okay, should we give the full details of the trade first?
Sure, we can start there. For those who did not see, then there were a number of trades that have happened in the last 24, 48 hours. We'll get into many trades. We'll get into tons of signings. We have a jam-packed show as we go through everything that happened with NHL free agency. Not even everything. There's a lot that's not going to be talked about today.
So much, but I'm so excited to talk about what we are going to talk about.
Yeah, we've got a list with at least like 15 topics on it. We're going to try to get to all of them. I guess before we get into that,
okay,
let's mention ATB, this official sponsor of the Alberta Podcast Network. They are fantastic, and you should check them out. They support hockey in your community, and I know it's summer, and a lot of people's minds aren't thinking grassroots hockey, but ATB is, because they're making plans to make things great for the summer or for the fall, and making that happen. So they put on a lot of camps, they sponsor programs, and when you choose them as your bank, you're being a part of that. So head to atb.com. atb.com/hockey is a great place to head to as well. Do that. You will not regret it. Speaking of regrets.
What a segue.
Tyson Barrie, Alexander Kerfoot, a 6th-round pick for Nazem Kadri, Kalle Rosen, and a 3rd-round pick.
Should Joe Sakic be regretful?
So here's where I stand on this, Nick.
Okay.
I have, for a few years now, actually, thought to myself, and I've probably even said it on this show, that a Nazem Kadri for Tyson Barrie trade makes a ton of sense for both teams.
Okay.
Right? And it still does, right?
Yes.
It did. It does. They did the trade. So Tyson Barrie, half of his salary is retained. So Toronto actually, they saved $2.5 million against the cap with this trade, which I guess doesn't take into account the pending Alexander Kerfoot signing. He's a restricted free agent, so they got to sign him. You know what? Now that I think about, I'd love it if Colorado offer sheeted him. Do that.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? Do that. Okay. There's one way that Joe Sakic can make me smile with this trade.
I mean, someone needs to give the Leafs a hard time at some point.
Like, please offer sheet Kerfoot. It wouldn't even need to be for that much, right? What they'd be getting back, just give them back that 3rd, essentially. Do that, please. So much do that. Nonetheless, so the Leafs come out about even. But here's the thing, Nick. I love me some Tyson Barrie.
He's a great player.
He's a fantastic player. And I know, and then I've had Leafs fans aplenty telling me why I should love Nazem Kadri.
You should love Nazem Kadri.
He's good. He's going to be a significant upgrade at center. As much as, all I'll say about this trade, I'm sad to see Carl Soderberg go. I'm not super sad to stop paying him $4 million, right? Or I guess $4.75 million. That's a lot of money. We will actually be paying Nazem Kadri $250,000 less, and he's noticeably better.
He may actually be on the best contract in the league. One of the best contracts in the league. He's not on the best, but
yeah.
it's up there.
$4.5 million for 3 more years. Fantastic. Love that.
Yeah.
So that's great. However, Tyson Barrie has like noticeably outperformed Nazem Kadri the last 2 seasons. Now, granted, like last year, Kadri took on a much more different role with the Leafs than he did the years before.
Okay.
Right? Like he's now third line, right? Tavares, Matthews. He's the third line center. He's got a different role and played a little bit more shutdown than he would have otherwise. Tyson Barrie also managed to shut players down, and he did that just by scoring, right? By having the puck a lot, he was able to shut down teams' top lines. And so I look at this and I'm like, we've got Tyson Barrie, who is a phenomenal player offensively. Sure, we've got a plethora of defensemen. We've got some good ones coming, but like Tyson Barrie is not even arguably. Tyson Barrie was the Avalanche's best defenseman this last season, and it wasn't super close. And so we've traded our best defenseman. We've got Eric Johnson, Ian Cole are both going to be hurt to start the season. So we're literally like putting all of our eggs in the basket of these young guys. And while it's great to get a good second line center, and I would even, as a second liner, I would even put Kadri as a great choice as a second line center. But to trade your number one defenseman, it doesn't excite me for this season. Sure, once Tyson Barrie would have inevitably left after this season, and we've got Kadri back, but come on, there's no way that this makes the Avalanche better this season.
Well, so that was my question, because I don't think this is about just this season. This is more of a long-term play. Because would Tyson Barrie have re-signed with the Avalanche at the end of the season?
Probably not.
So they probably would have been shopping him at the deadline. And you're not going to get a return this good at the deadline for Tyson Barrie. So this is probably like best in a Tyson Barrie trade, best case scenario. Now, would it have been a better option to hold on to him and do the quote unquote own rental thing going into the playoffs? I don't know, but then you lose him for nothing.
Yeah. And so if the Avalanche are at that point, because I do think that this team is, if they play like they did last year, obviously making the second round of the playoffs, fantastic. They're ready to make a move, but it's just frustrating. I never like giving up the best player in a trade, even if sure, long term, great. Like 2-3 years down the road, this will be a fantastic trade. Cal Rosen, not sold on him. I mean, the Leafs weren't sold on him being part of their defense core, and theirs was much worse than the Avalanche.
Yeah. I think that he'll be a fine third pairing defenseman. And I think you guys will be totally fine in your top four. Like Sam Girard is 20 years old? And
he'll be 21.
He had almost 30 points last year. Like assuming he takes another step this year and then another step, like he's young. So he's going to keep improving. Cale Makar looked really good, and that was in the playoffs, so he's going to keep improving. And then you guys just picked up Bowen Byram. Like, long-term, Avalanche on defense are going to be fine. I think that the trade benefits both teams in that it fills a hole for you guys in the top six, and Toronto is very obviously weakest at defense. Now, I think it fills Toronto's hole better than it does yours, but you got to give a little in these trades too. I think it's a fair trade. I think it's an exciting trade. It's a good trade all around, but I do think that Toronto wins more just because they needed a top four defenseman much more than you needed a second pairing center. Yeah.
And I don't know, like this conversation literally right now has helped me be more okay with it into the future, but I'm still not there.
Look, when you guys are playing in the second or third round of the playoffs next year and Toronto lost to Boston again in the first round, you'll be feeling great about this.
You know what? It put a smile on my face, Nick. It really, really did. So thank you. I was very pleased with the rest of what the Avalanche did as well. They made 3 trades this week. So they did this trade, Tyson Barrie, I guess technically 4. One's irrelevant. The Carl Soderberg trade, bringing in Kevin Connauton and a third. Connauton potentially with all the injuries on the back end, and now trading Tyson Barrie, he'll likely slide in as a third pairing potentially at a camp.
Yeah,
and Andrei Burakovsky for a second and the third that the Avalanche got for Soderberg, and I am excited about that one. That could be, he wasn't fully beloved in Washington. I think it's one of those situations where going to a new place can help him, and just being able to be with that team where he's used to playing on a team full of stars, right? And not being up there, but just being able to come in, play well. I'm excited for that signing.
I always thought that he was kind of sneaky good. Like, he was never front and center, in the glory, but he added pretty good secondary scoring, I thought. Yeah. And he's young still, too. Yeah, super young, still restricted free agent, so they need to sign him. They still need to sign Mikko Rantanen, but that's essentially all I expect from the Avalanche this offseason now. Well, hey, one of the low-key best moves of the day on Monday was that Jonas Donskoi signing. Well, so that they also dipped into the free agency. Jonas Donskoi signing with the Avalanche for a fantastically priced deal. When you look at all the other money going around, 4 years, $3.9 million per season. Love that. Yeah. Yeah, that was, to me, that was, a little bit biased, but that was the value pick of the day. I 100% agree. And I think that, maybe outside of the New York Rangers, they had one of the best days on July 1 out of every team. Yeah. I mean, when you can sign him for $1.2 million a year more than Richard Panik on the exact same term, you've done well for yourself. It's a great deal, Carl. What's the tax situation in Colorado? Is that a low tax state? You know what, Nick? It's a medium tax state. Yeah. I think it is medium. Yeah. It's not as bad as Toronto, which we all know. Why would you want to go to Toronto? You're just going to pay all the taxes. Or anywhere in Canada. Yeah. I mean, this whole scenario, because everyone looks at this. Let's talk taxes right now. Good. Let's bore our listeners to death. The tax scenario that professional athletes partake in is much different than the tax scenario you and I participate in. Yeah, 100%. The fact that they're like, you know what, he's going to make less tax. No, he'll just start a foundation and then doesn't pay any taxes. Yep. There are ways around taxes. Yeah, shockingly, they managed to do well enough for themselves. Yeah, it's true. Governments love really rich people, so they'll always find a way. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's Tax Talk with us. Welcome. Welcome to Tax Talk with Nick and Carl. There's no theme music to that podcast because it's just boring. It is still sponsored by ATB though. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's the proper sponsor. They just don't want us talking about taxes. Yeah, they're like, please stop. If you want to talk more about your tax situation, go to ATB. They got your back. Yeah, don't listen to us. Yeah, I mean, the Avalanche had a great day. They filled their forward core is fantastic. I mean, it was good before. I'm very excited for this season. There's going to be, a big Tyson Barrie sized hole in my heart, but he kind of had a bit of a falling out of sorts with the team. I guess I wanted to say that Patrick Waugh was the reason for it, but they obviously weren't too high on the possibility of signing him. And now I just sit here and wait for them to offer sheet Alex Kerfoot. That's all I'm waiting for. That would actually be amazing if they did that. Yeah, that would be so good. How did you feel about the Red Wings day? I mean, it was quieter. They did a lot less. But... Yeah, it's boring. I don't think we should waste too much time talking about the Red Wings just because there's so much else to talk about. But they had a couple of depth signings with very little term, 2 years. The Yzer plan is all about the future and 3 to 5 years out. So when we get to whenever 3 years from now is 2022, nothing he does now will affect that. I think that's the idea. I think Valtteri Filppula is a fine player. I think Patrick Nemeth is actually, you should tell me about Patrick Nemeth because he's coming from your team. Yeah, you get former Avalanche defenseman Patrick Nemeth. Is he good? Do you like him? He was
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for $3 million, 2 years, he got a raise, which I was a little surprised by. Like a raise in an extra year for a guy that became our seventh defenseman once Cale Makar showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So from that regard, I was a little surprised by the dollar amount, but he's a fine bottom half defenseman for sure.
There are a lot of things Detroit values and will pay $3 million for. Grit, competition, and toughness are three of those things.
Well,
$1 million each.
One per. Yeah, he checked all three of Yzerman's boxes. I mean, maybe those aren't Yzerman's boxes, but the Red Wings mantra still stayed true.
Red Wings culture. I think he's joining a very crowded decor. I'm really curious to see what Yzerman does with the rest of the defense there because they're very bad. They're very old and they're very hurt. So we'll see kind of what happens. A few of the guys only have this coming year left on their deals and then they're done. I kind of feel like they're just going to wait it out and next year start fresh.
Which is how you do a rebuild. That is fine.
It's how you rebuild.
Let's get to some more of these moves.
Yes.
Do you want to start there? So there are two more trades that we wanted to touch on, and then just all the signings.
Yes.
Let's start with some trades. How's that sound?
That sounds amazing.
Okay. I'm glad you.
I'm so pumped. It was so exciting this week.
It was great. Yeah.
Like it was a good week. Okay.
I mean, and I don't know about you. It had promise of a rainy day in the Alberta area. And so my plans were canceled for outside. It turned out being a fine day for Canada. So I just sat home, packed some boxes and watched free agency. It was a fine Canada day for the most part.
It was supposed to storm here too. So we made plans to do stuff inside. And when the day came, we couldn't cancel our plans. So we just did stuff inside. But we went down to the Hockey Hall of Fame, which was nice. And
nice. Yeah.
Saw a movie.
Good time.
Yeah.
So Phil Kessel.
Yes. Hockey news.
Finally gone. Yeah. Do you want to talk more about what we did this weekend?
No, that's not what this podcast is about.
There's a lot of hockey signings, and also Nick went to the Hall of Fame. Phil Kessel and a 4th round pick to Arizona for Alex Galchenyuk and Pierre-Olivier Joseph. Kessel was rumored to be going to a lot of places. He had a no movement clause, so he was able to block a lot of them. Arizona, not on that list. I love this for Arizona.
This is great for Arizona. This is great for Phil Kessel.
Let's not go that far.
Come on. The guy's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He's the spotlight's hotter in Pittsburgh than it is in Arizona. The weather's nicer in Arizona than it is in Pittsburgh. He's got how many years left on his contract?
Enough.
Like to play out the rest of his career in Arizona.
3 more years.
I don't know. It's a pretty good situation for him. And in all seriousness, I do think the Coyotes, their time is coming. They're getting there.
I've said that a lot.
I know, but as proof of with the Hurricanes, if you just keep saying it, it'll happen eventually.
Should I jump on their bandwagon for this season and then jump off and see where it takes me?
I mean, it seemed to work for Carolina.
It did, yeah. So Phil will be 34 when this deal ends. He can then do like a Jerome McGinley-esque tour of the league as he retires.
Yeah.
But from his perspective, I could see that, right? Of wanting to, you go somewhere, you don't have to worry about it. Phil's never been one to really clamor for the spotlight.
No, he doesn't like it very much.
And Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, actually, from their side, I don't fully get it. Like, sure, there was the rumored, like, just for whatever reason, they just did not like Phil Kessel anymore, which is weird.
I think that's what it came down to. It was a character issue.
Phil, bad in the room. Still bad in the room.
Still bad in the room, but now a 2-time Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah. And
it sounds like he messed around with Jim Rutherford a little bit about where he would and wouldn't go to.
Good for him.
Yeah, I have no issue with it.
Yeah. That could be, once the Avs offer sheet Alex Kerfoot, that'll be the trend of this week, just messing with people for the sake of messing with them. So, yeah, I'm fine with it.
We need more of that in the NHL.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the other, big-ish trade, and more so just for what it means for the rest of the Leafs, Nikita Zaitsev, Connor Brown, and Michael Carcone to Ottawa for Cody Ceci, Ben Harper, and a third-round pick. They managed to do it.
Again, we need to stop doing favors for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I mean, so we shouldn't retain half of Tyson Barrie's salary. We shouldn't let Nikita Zaitsev's long-term deal be given away.
No. I don't know what the Ottawa Senators... And they included a draft pick in it. A third-round pick.
They gave up a lot.
What are they thinking?
Yeah, I don't.
Take the steering wheel away from this guy.
Yeah, because they could have walked away from Cody Ceci in the exact same way that the Leafs will try to.
Right?
Like, they could have just been like, no, we don't want Cody Ceci. And he's gone. Poof.
It's the weirdest thing. You know what else the Ottawa Senators did? They went and signed Ron Hainsey. You know what else the Ottawa Senators did? They went and signed Tyler Ennis. Like, you know what else they did? They hired the Leafs assistant coach. Like, there's a trend there.
Yeah, they signed their defensive coach. So after Eugene Melnyk went on the radio this fall and criticized the Leafs for having terrible defense, he has now signed their coach, the guy who coached their defense, traded for one of their defensemen and signed another. So clearly the issue with the Leafs defense was Jake Gardiner, Jake Muzzin, Morgan Riley. Those were the issues. He brought in the studs of the defense corps.
It's like, this guy's ridiculous. He's got to stop. First of all, they need to stop putting microphones in front of his face.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, he needs to hire somebody who understands the NHL and knows not to help teams within his division.
Yeah, especially your rival.
Right?
Even all these years later, Leafs fans still manage to hate the Sens. And they have been irrelevant for quite some time.
Oh, trust me. Living with a Leafs fan, it's getting pretty... they never forget what happened with the Sens back in the day.
Yeah, it's good. I mean...
And they don't care how down Ottawa is right now.
They'll just keep kicking them.
They just keep kicking.
Yeah. Well, and so there was a number of other trades, right? We saw Jimmy Vesey go back to Buffalo, Andrew Shaw back to Chicago, Colin Miller to Buffalo. So a number of, on a trade deadline show, deals we'd probably spend some time on, but we've got a lot more to get to.
Yes, we do, but can we talk about Chicago for just a second? Do you feel like they're trying to recapture their Stanley Cup glory by bringing back all these players that won Stanley Cups with them?
I mean, that seems like I think that's the only players they know how to trade for are former Chicago Blackhawks.
It's very strange.
Yeah. I mean, they did make a minor... we'll get to that. But I liked one of their moves this weekend for sure.
I don't even know who they signed. Oh, I do. Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Let's start with the groundbreaking signing of the weekend.
Yes. Brett Ritchie to Boston.
Oh my goodness.
1 year, $1 million.
I cannot believe that he didn't get multiple years. It's just, but you know what? That's what happens. No, I'm thinking Jason Spezza on a league minimum deal. That's what I want to talk about. The Leafs' new third line center.
I don't know. Like, what do you say to that?
No, that's actually not what I want to talk about. Sebastian Aho signed an offer sheet. We got an offer sheet, finally. I was convinced it wasn't going to happen. I didn't think we knew how to sign offer sheets anymore.
No. But they did it. They tendered one.
Here we are. So, first off, I love the way Montreal did it. It was fantastic.
What, by announcing it on Twitter?
No.
What are you talking about?
Just the way that the contract was laid out.
Oh.
The fact that they they signed a contract, a 5-year contract, which is the lowest. If you went to 6, then it like significantly will bump you up to those next tiers. So it was about $100,000 away from knocking them into that next tier of rewards.
Yeah.
That. The 5-year deal takes Aho straight to unrestricted free agency. As well, they went all signing bonus because they're like, hey, the Hurricanes are cheap. They can't afford these offer sheets or with these signing bonuses. There's no way that they'll be able to match it. So they had that 3-pronged approach of trying to screw the Hurricanes. I appreciate that.
Do you think, like, what do you think was going through their heads when they tendered this offer sheet? Do you think that they were expecting / hoping Aho to end up in Montreal next year?
Oh yeah, that takes a significant set of cojones to do it and not hope to get the player.
But it seems like, I don't know, it kind of seems like a deal that, how did the Hurricanes walk away from it?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's literally just them hoping and praying that the Hurricanes cannot afford to give Aho
right
$21 million in the first calendar year.
Right. That they don't want to pay the signing bonuses.
Yeah. And it backfired, obviously, right? They announced today, like, yeah, we're accepting. Well,
they announced it like 2 days ago. They put a poll on their Twitter account that said, will we match the offer sheet? Yes or we?
I like that.
Like, they immediately made fun of it. I don't know. It just seemed like too weak of an offer sheet. Like, it was just like, how can you not match that? You know, cap wise, it totally fits. I get the signing bonus thing, but you know, the Hurricanes also just had a very deep playoff run, which made them lots of money.
Are you suggesting that Montreal intentionally did Carolina a favor?
I mean, I kind of feel like, I don't know if they did it on purpose. I feel like they were more afraid to do it higher because they were afraid that Carolina would would not match a higher price, and they didn't want to give up the draft picks.
Right. Yeah, because this would have been a first, a second, and a third, which is a shockingly low price for Aho.
Yes. So I don't think they were willing to give up more for him, which is why they set it at that average annual value.
Yeah.
But it's pretty low for him long term.
Yeah. Well, that's the other side. I don't know why he accepted that offer. Like,
right?
One, to accept the offer and to think, okay, this is an offer that Carolina is probably going to match. And then to also take an offer where, like, if it does feel like he could have got a little bit more out of it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, no one was probably going to do an offer sheet for more, but it's very low. And then so I don't know why he would sign it, but
nonetheless, as someone who needs to sign a big restricted free agent to a contract this offseason, I appreciate him for lowering the bar.
Right? Pretty much.
Like, to go from Aho and now it's like, oh yeah, Mitch Marner getting $13 million. No, that's not a thing that's happening.
Right? Once again, we're doing favors for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, come on, Sebastian. And Montreal. Montreal of all people should know better.
We gotta stop giving the Leafs favors.
We have to. Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting. I enjoyed the drama of it. I enjoyed that we actually got an offer sheet for once. It's been too long.
I agree, and I think it's going to start happening more, just because players are getting better and better, younger, and with the way the restricted / unrestricted free agency works now based on their ages, their big paydays are going to come in their early 20s and mid 20s versus their late 20s. So more teams are going to be willing to pay those dollars earlier on.
I mean, there's we hear everyone talk about bridge deals, and they're not a thing anymore. Like, sure, you could sign a shorter term deal, but you're not getting a discount on it really anymore.
No.
I saw someone talking or TSN was talking about Patrick Laine and a bridge deal, which is still a possibility to go shorter term. They're like, oh, and they'll save money. I'm like, no, like, what do you think? If Patrick Laine signs a 2-year contract, well, he's not signing for 2x5. It's insane. He's going to sign for 2 years, $8-9 million.
Right.
It's the same price tag.
And then the issue becomes they're going to want to raise at the end of that contract.
Yeah.
But what it does do is it allows the teams short term to maintain a little more control over their cap situation.
Yes. Yeah. It does give you that short term so that you can sort through it. I mean, there are some reasons, but in the long term, you're not saving a whole lot of money.
No, I agree.
So less bridge deals, more offer sheets.
That being said, I think Mitch Marner is going to sign a bridge deal.
But like, what do you think the number comes in at on a bridge?
I don't know, 7 or 8.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, a Sebastian Aho like dollar number.
Yeah, but Marner will do it for 3, not 5.
Yeah. And then the cap goes up and he's able to
bump
post
it up to
lockout
10 or 11.
He'll get a big old raise. So
it's probably what's going to happen.
Probably. All right, let's get to some unrestricted free agents. There was a ton of them that signed. Let's start with the biggest dollar number.
Okay.
$11.642 million a year for Artemi Panarin to go to the New York Rangers.
And just like that, they won free agency.
Just that easy.
This team is rebuilding the right way. Was it last year or the year before? They sent an email out to their season ticket holders and said, okay, guys, it's going to be painful. We need to tear it down and rebuild a little bit.
It was a year and a half ago. So it would have been trade deadline 2018.
And now they're in the playoff picture.
Now, I mean,
They should be in the playoff picture.
You still got Henrik Lundqvist. This offseason, you have added, and correct me if I'm missing one, they've added Jacob Trouba.
Yes.
They've added Capo Caco.
Yes.
Added Artemi Panarin.
Yes.
That's 3 of a very good starting 5.
And they lost Jimmy Vesey.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah. They've done everything right over the last year and a half.
And I mean, they added Adam Fox as well. People are pretty high on him. I'm certainly not super sold. But geez, that's how you kickstart a rebuild.
Right? You make some tactical moves like the Adam Fox, like the Artemi Panarin and Jimmy Vesey deal, and you get a little bit of luck with Capo Caco, and boom, you're back in it.
Yeah, all of a sudden there is a chance that Henrik Lundqvist can still win a Stanley Cup in New York. Who knew?
He's got to be pretty happy right now.
Oh, he's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and the number, there was lots of numbers that went around. Panarin left money on the table from reports. He was offered more money, so $12 million a year, and the full 8 from Columbus. So he left what amounts to about $14 million on the table. Again, that last year, it's not like I don't expect Panarin to be able to reach a $14 million deal for that last season when he'll be at 35. I mean, if he's still worth $14 million at 35, this is even a better deal for the Rangers. But this is where he wanted to be. The Avalanche offered him more per season. The Jackets, and from all reports, the Islanders as well.
But there's one other thing we got to take into consideration here, Carl, between New York and Ohio. What's the tax situation?
What's the tax? Yeah, well, I think we really need to consider the difference between Long Island and Manhattan tax situation. If we could get our New York tax expert on the line, that'd be great.
Let's not call them. Okay, just a little joke. I don't know anything about taxes in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, good for the Rangers. I mean, this guy was always going to sign somewhere that was more high profile than Columbus. it was nice of him, I think, that he heard them out at the 11th hour. I don't know if he was ever going to sign there.
No. I mean, he literally said in the middle of the season that he wasn't going to do it.
Yeah. And then there was reports the night before. They're like, well, Columbus is still in this. They got the extra year. So it was nice of him.
Yeah. I think they had to get a little bit desperate. You have to pay a little bit more to see what you can keep him. I'm surprised they didn't go higher than 12.
Yeah, me too.
Just make him the tied with McDavid for the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, he still is the highest paid winger, though. So,
and he should be, I think.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's going to be great in New York.
For sure. The rumored trip of him and Bobrovsky, I mean, the trip wasn't rumored. The trip happened. Him and Bobrovsky went to Florida. Lots of speculation that that's where they would both end up. Bobrovsky did go there, making him the second highest paid goaltender in the league. 7 years, $10 million per season. With the retirement of Roberto Luongo, a lead that significantly got buried by the rest of free agency at this point in time.
Yeah.
They had to do that.
I mean, I think it was pretty obvious that Bobrovsky was going to Florida.
Yeah.
With Luongo retiring. And did they end up buying out Reimer? I don't even know what happened with Reimer.
They traded him to Carolina and then bought out Scott Darling instead.
Okay, well, it became very obvious like the day before that Bobrovsky was going to Florida.
Or they were going to have no goalie anywhere ever.
Or they were just going to have no goalie.
Yeah.
Just empty. 6 players, empty net.
Yeah, I mean, it works in NHL 19, so it's got to work in real life.
I'm not going to lie to you, Carl. I don't know how to evaluate goalie contracts.
Well, when you look at every other goalie contract handed out this weekend, Bobrovsky got twice as much as any other goalie.
Yeah, but Bobrovsky is not like any other goalie that was on the market.
He is very good. He's also done it fairly consistently for quite some time. So it's not like Robin Lehner, right, who is a free agent, who had a great season last year, as good as Bobrovsky did, but only 1 year, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is hard. And honestly, goalies should be paid more. I'm consistently shocked at how little they're making. I'm fine with this contract.
Well, they're just so hard to predict, right? Like, you don't know. Forwards, when they are defensemen, players, when they show more consistency in their game, you can project it a little better, but goalies are just so unpredictable. Well, right? Like, look at Carey Price's deal.
Yeah.
Does it I think this is a fair deal for Sergei Bobrovsky. I think. Oh,
for him, it's as good as he could have hoped for.
Yeah.
For the Panthers, they needed a goalie. They got a goalie. And so let's see what they can build around that. I mean, they added the most fringy of players to shockingly large deals. So
I know. I feel like Florida, this was the most like womp womp when it came to free agency. Like, they made a good splash with Bobrovsky, but they were really hoping for Panarin. And when they weren't in on him, it was like they gave Anton Strawman $5.5 million per year. Yikes. Who else did they pay?
Brent Connolly, 3.5 for 4.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
Why would they do that?
I mean, they could have paid an extra $400,000, gotten Jonas Donskoy for the same money.
Right?
Do that.
Yeah, I thought they ended up just being like just okay. Like, the Bobrovsky deal was good. The rest of them are not good.
I don't know if you have looked at their cap space, but without looking, if you had to guess what the Panthers are sitting at right now, what would you say?
With how much cap space they have?
How much cap space do the Florida Panthers, a team notoriously at the bottom of the attendance?
On an $82 million cap ceiling?
81.5, yeah.
81.5. Based on the signings they just made, 10, 15. I would say they're probably pretty close to being at the ceiling, like 78, 79.
Yeah, they're sitting at 76, so they have $5.4 million in cap space.
After clearing out everything.
Yeah. That's a lot. I mean, these next 3 years, they're going to be paying goalies approximately a $2.5 million cap hit not to play on their team between Luongo and Darlene.
Yeah, that's not great.
It's not good, but
at least they're not paying as much as Vancouver.
I love the fact that Vancouver has to pay $3 million in recapture to Luongo. That's so good.
Oh, I love it. And then Luongo bought an ad in the local newspaper thanking the city of Vancouver.
He's a legend.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the way he announced his retirement too.
Yeah, that was classy. Next up, to me, this is the big ticket items. This to me is the steal of free agency.
Can I guess? Okay, never mind.
Were you right?
I was right though.
Yeah, Matt Duchene, 7 years, $8 million a season. Huh.
I mean, he wanted to go to Nashville, right? That's got to be what it is. He just wanted to go there.
Yeah. He thought, hey, they traded. I was in a trade with them once. Now I want to go there for real.
He's going to be with his old buddy Kyle Turris. Oh no, They never actually played together, did they?
They were like ships in the night.
Right. Almost crashed into each other.
Just about collided. Although it was just the Senators that collided.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fantastic price for him.
That's a great deal for Matt Duchene. I honestly thought he was going to go for like 9.5.
Yeah. As he should have, though. Like that. He is 28 years old. This deal takes him until he's 35. Fantastic.
He wasn't going to do anything less on term because he wanted to settle somewhere. He's got a young family.
Yeah.
But he settled on, he took less dollars. But they're still in a good position in terms of being competitive, and they will be for a few years still. So
yeah, they've got as much as people still somehow find ways to criticize what they're doing there, but man, David Poile knows what's up.
He does know what's up. And they had a rough year in the playoffs this year, but they're in a good spot. I think they're still a playoff team, and once you make the playoffs, anything can happen, as we saw this year. And Matt Duchene makes them better up front.
Now, my question is, what do you think that forward core actually looks like now with what they have? Because they've got a lot of guys that can play center on that team. Where do you expect all those pieces to slot in up front?
Well, I think Matt Duchene is a very good centerman, so I think he's going to continue to play center. I think that is Kyle Turris a natural center?
Yeah. I don't think he's played other positions ever, really.
So you're looking at Ryan Johansson on the top line. You're looking at Matt Duchene on the second line, because I think he's better than Kyle Turris at the position. Then you're looking at either Turris or Bonino on the third line.
Mm-hmm.
Or you do Turris third line, Bonino fourth, and Colton Sissons moves to the wing.
Right.
But I think I'd rather keep Turris in the top 6 or top 9 and throw him on the wing.
So you'd have a top 6 that looks like Johansson, Duchene as the top 2 centers. You've got Forsberg and probably and Arvidsson.
Yeah.
You've got Turris and
Granlund.
Yeah, you could put Granlund. Yeah, Granlund.
Or Yarncroc.
Yeah. So the Matt Duchene's winger, his other wingers, a noticeable step down from the top line, but it gives you a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah. And I think down the middle, Kyle Turris ends up being the odd guy out and plays the wing, which is fine. And when you have 2 centers playing on a line, it's not a bad thing either if you need to alternate the face-off based on their handedness and what side of the ice you're taking the face-off on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It gives you that flexibility. It gives the players that flexibility on the ice to lean on their face-off strengths.
I mean, I, and the rest of people who watched saw the Avalanche do that between Landeskog and McKinnon this year.
Yeah.
And Landeskog's for sure not a centerman. So, yeah, given that flexibility is nice, right? You can never have too many centers.
No.
And Columbus, and actually this is Nashville. Nashville does not have that. So, yeah, they're going to be quite good this season.
Yeah, they're in good shape. Even with losing Subban, like I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and they actually, so they moved Subban to make space for Duchene, and then didn't even spend the full Subban deal. So that's nice.
Yeah, right. And again, that gives them flexibility.
Yeah. Let's go to now. I'll let you chime in on what you think it is. Arguably, we'll go from my favorite deal of the day to my least favorite deal of the day.
Least favorite, eh? Is it Anders Lee?
It's not Anders Lee.
Is it Joe Pavelski?
No, I'm actually a big fan of that Pavelski deal.
Yeah, I thought that was a good deal too. Then I don't. Oh, is it former Colorado Avalanche Semyon Varlamov?
Ooh, there's a new leader in the clubhouse. I was gonna say, yeah, it is that one. Okay,
That's a bad deal.
Pick his replacement. What I was gonna say was Max Zuccarello.
Yeah, that was also a bad deal.
5 years, $6 million. And it's not so much on most other teams, I would have been more okay with it. But it's just like what Minnesota has happening with that team. And it's like you've just continually doubled down. And so this is where they're at now.
That's that's my sentiment exactly. It's not a bad deal for that player, but it's a bad deal for the Minnesota Wild and kind of where they are in their cap situation.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would do this.
I think I know why they would do this.
Why?
They did this. If I'm the Minnesota Wild, I justify it as like a prying open our playoff window as much as possible for as long as possible.
Oh, it's not a good philosophy to have right now, though.
No, it's certainly not.
They need to tear it down.
But how can you, when you have $7.5 million for 6 more years of Zach Parise and 7.5 for 6 more years of Ryan Suter? I mean, Ryan Suter's still fine. Zach Parise is not. And both of them have no move clauses. It hamstrings you when a significant portion is tied up like that.
Yeah, it does. That's why they were trying to move Jason Zucker and probably are still trying to move Jason Zucker.
Yeah.
Because that's a movable deal.
It is.
You got to work with the other deals that you have that you can move.
Well, good news. They will not be moving Matt Zuccarello because they also handed him a no movement clause. So that's nice.
Which is, I mean, in this day and age, no movement clause is just expansion protection, right?
Yeah.
They're just saying like we won't expose you in the expansion draft.
Yeah, you're not going to Seattle unless you want to. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Let's spend some time on the island now. You mentioned Semyon Varlamov. 4 years. Yeah,
why'd they do that?
$5 million per. I don't know why they went ahead and did that. I mean, sure, he took a drop in pay, but you got like a much better goalie that literally just left your team. I don't get it.
Yeah, obviously they wanted someone more long term because Lehner ended up signing a 1-year deal elsewhere. Why they wouldn't give Lehner something a little more permanent, I don't know. Maybe it came down to Lehner not wanting it, but I don't know why he wouldn't want it either. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Well, from what I was reading, they offered Lehner 2 years, $5 million, which I guess wasn't proven enough contract for him, right? He's like, well, I'm going to go be amazing in Chicago for 1 year and then get paid.
And big payday. See, that's interesting too. Like, what is it about New York or Long Island that Lehner was like, nah, I'll give up the extra year of guaranteed money and go elsewhere?
I mean, I appreciate the guy betting on himself after what he proved this year, to then have his team be like, no, we actually don't want you at that money. Like, we don't believe in you after you just dragged our team kicking and screaming into the playoffs. Nah. Yeah, I'd be out at the door if I was him too.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, that's a big loss for New York then. Because Varlamov, the steal, like, was Varlamov even the starter in Colorado all season last year?
No, I mean, he was for a significant portion, but Semyon Varlamov is not capable of holding the net for an entire season, which, Thomas Greiss has been capable in the past of being a 1A player. But yeah, Varley's good for at most 50 games. At most.
Well, the Islanders need a 2018-19 Robin Lehner if they want to repeat their success from last year.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're going to find that in Semyon Varlamov.
I can tell you that no, they will not.
You would know.
I have watched a lot of Semyon Varlamov hockey, and that's never happened. I mean, he did have 2005, when he finished second in voting for the Vezina. That was his best season. And how that season compares to this Semyon Varlamov year, or Robin Lehner year rather, is worse. Like, Semyon Varlamov's best year ever is worse than what Lehner did this year. He's not going to magically get better at 32 years of age.
Right. And that team needs a star goaltender.
Gotta have it.
I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking.
They should have made their last ditch effort on Bobrovsky instead of Panarin.
Well, they were one of the teams, right, that was in it pretty deep. So this kind of feels like a panic. Oh, shoot, we missed out on Bobrovsky. What else is out there? What can we do? Can we go get Mike Smith? Oh no, he's going to Edmonton. Darn.
I mean, if that's your desperation plan, you really need to reevaluate things.
I think Varlamov's a better signing than Mike Smith, but I don't know.
I would disagree. I would much rather have Mike Smith for, what did he Mike Smith's is a 1-year deal.
Yeah, it is.
And so it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll go sign someone else next year.
Why didn't they make a bigger play at Peter Mrazek?
Good question. Because Mrazek signed a pretty reasonable deal. It's not. Do you have the Mrazek number?
I do. Mrazek signed in Carolina for 2 years, 6.25 total. So the cap hit is $3.125 million.
Yeah,
that's reasonable.
Very reasonable. I mean, they could have had both of those guys in there. I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense to have 3 goalies, but why not? I mean, when you need a goaltender to be good, take shots in the dark.
Yeah, like they did the year before.
And don't give Semyon Varlamov 4 years.
Yeah, that's going to be a regrettable deal for many years. Well, for 4 years for them.
It's not going to handcuff them, but it's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
That said, they signed their captain. For once, the New York Islanders were able to keep their captain around.
For once.
For the first time in franchise history, their captain has stayed.
You say it like it's happened a dozen times.
I mean, literally every season for the last decade, their captain has walked out the door. It's actually a curse at this point.
You know what the best part of the Anders Lee deal is? The cap hit's not $9 million.
Yeah, that is the best part of the Anders Lee deal. Absolutely.
When I saw that report the other day, I was like, no, this must not be true. Nobody would do this.
Not even desperate Lou Lamoriello, who refuses to lose the franchise's 35th captain.
Just can't happen twice in a row.
Yeah. Literally, since Lou Lamoriello was born, every captain has left the Islanders.
What is funny about the Anders Lee thing, though, and that $9 million rumor is that the Minnesota Wild were the team rumored to be in on him.
Of course they were. Come on now.
If you thought the Zuccarello deal was bad, imagine if that went through.
Oof. No. Yeah, they got saved. Here is 7x7 for Anders Lee. 7 by 7.1 for Kevin Hayes. Who would you rather, Kevin Hayes or Anders Lee?
Oh, God. I don't know. Do I have to take one of them?
Yes, you are the Minnesota Wild, and you need to add one of these players to your team. No, just
I don't know. Kevin Hayes, maybe.
I would go Anders Lee. I think.
Would you?
Yeah. It is close. Don't get me wrong, but I would probably go Anders Lee.
So are we saying that Lee got what he's worth?
I would say that of other deals that happened this offseason, it was a fine contract, I think. I
agree. It offset how bad the Varlamov one is.
Yeah.
I have no issue with the Anders Lee deal.
When you can pay Semyon Varlamov and Anders Lee a combined $12 million, you have to do it. Let's just frame it like that.
Who could say no?
Yeah, no one. You literally can't.
Lou Lamoriello was like, look, Anders, if you sign for 7 instead of 9, we can also get Varlamov. And he's like, okay, done. Signs the deal. Lamoriello's like, okay, but we're getting Varlamov for 4 years at $5 million. And Anders Lee was like, no, I shouldn't have done this.
Anders Lee, how would you feel if can you give us a discount so we can sign Varlamov to $2 million less than you? How's that sound?
Anders Lee's response is just like, yeah, I thought we had a good season, and as long as we just get pucks in deep into the opponent's end, we should be fine.
Yeah. Also, my realtor is looking up houses in Minnesota.
What's the tax rate in Minnesota?
Yeah. What is the tax rate in Minnesota?
I feel like it's high. I don't know why though.
I would say, I would agree. Yeah. That seems logical. I you know what I know even less about than American taxes?
What's that?
State by state politics to know if they would have a high or low tax rate.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'll tell you why I think the tax rate's high in Minnesota, because everyone refers to it as like Canada Junior, like we could just adopt Minnesota, and the tax rate in Canada is very high. So that's why I assume Minnesota's high.
You know what? That makes sense. Story checks out. Good news is I now have, for the rest of the show, for the last minutes of the show, we do have the tax rate per state pulled up. So
awesome.
We're all good. Minnesota, on par. No. Yeah, about on par. A little bit higher than the average. You're paying a combined 48.94%. So
okay.
It's actually
when you say combined, that's federal and state.
Yeah. And I said it's actually average. That would be on the higher side. Alberta's actually
that sounds
less.
High.
Yeah. So if he wants to pay less taxes, come to Calgary.
Well, and what about New York? While you have it up, we might as well check the state of New York.
It is about on par. Actually, New York Islanders, you would pay much less because there is city tax for the Rangers.
Oh.
You're paying 4% Ranger tax. So it would have been better to go to Brooklyn.
But if you're going to play in Madison Square Garden for 41 games a year, you gotta pay a tax on that. It's pretty historic.
It's gonna be good. Yeah. There are only 6 cities with their own taxes. One of them also Columbus. The other one, Detroit.
Yeah. I don't think Detroit's in a favorable tax situation.
Yeah, there are a few things that I know about American tax. Is that Detroit's tax situation?
Yeah. Also, they don't have a great history of municipal governments using tax dollars appropriately. Anyways, that's a topic for a different podcast. Let's talk about Joe Pavelski.
Joe Pavelski, 3 years times 7. Great deal for the Stars.
Why didn't San Jose give him that?
They
Can
were
not afford it?
They were busy giving all their money to Erik Karlsson. So Jose,
that makes sense.
They also did, they gave Timo Meier $6 million for 4 years. Their cap space at present is 6.3. So and they have to still sign Kevin Labanc, which will be a couple million. So without having some long-term guys or guys moved out, they literally couldn't sign that deal.
And they still need to bring back Joe Thornton.
And that doesn't include Joe Thornton. You are correct. And Patrick Marleau.
And Patrick Marleau. Yeah, that's true. I guess that's fair. I never thought we'd see a day where Joe Pavelski was putting on a different jersey. It's weird. It's one of those weird ones.
Yeah. He went from Captain America to the star of the show now.
Yeah. It's almost like seeing Jason Spezza in a Maple Leafs jersey.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought it?
Yeah. Who would have ever thought Jason Spezza in a Stars jersey? But there we were.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, but Joe Pavelski, that is something, right? As he's been the face of that team, another captain leaving. San Jose. I don't think there's been a slew of captains leaving like there are some teams in the NHL. However, he was that franchise in so many ways. Being at that game in San Jose and seeing how he was not playing that game, but when he made an appearance, that was the loudest that crowd was when they showed Joe. They won the game and gave an injured Joe Pavelski the biggest cheer.
Yeah, that says a lot about that. But he's what, 34 years old, 35 years old?
Yeah.
And he's played every game of his career for the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive that players still do that. So it's a big deal that he's leaving. It
is, yeah. It is. And I guess Dallas had themselves a very good day as well. They were, they added Pavelski, and then very minor other moves that could hit, could not, right? Corey Perry for 1.5, Andrej Sekera for 1.5. It's sure, we've wasted $3 million if it doesn't work, but it might.
I love that Corey Perry deal.
Yeah.
I think it's low risk, high reward.
Absolutely.
They've given him a bunch of performance incentive bonuses.
Yeah, they did well for themselves.
I think they did well. They're in a good spot for 2019-20 again.
Yeah, they're going to be a good team, a team that will return to the playoffs and should do quite well.
Yeah, I think so.
Any other teams, players, things from the week to touch on?
Not really. Wayne Simmons signed a weird deal. 1 year.
He did. Yeah.
1 year, $5 million. Is that what it was?
Yeah. I was surprised that he had to go on a prove it deal.
I was too. He had a really bad year last year, though.
But I don't think he's done.
No, I don't think so either. It's a weird decision to make.
Yeah. It just added to the great week that New Jersey had, though.
Yeah, 100%. I wonder if he becomes a trade deadline play again this year.
Unless New Jersey's in the playoffs. Which, if you talk to New Jersey fans...
They will be. They should be.
They're in. They're already in the playoffs.
They should be pretty close, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah, so, Wayne Simmons, he did well for himself. As the summer goes, we're now in, all of the big news guys, they're gone. We've seen them say their farewells, and we'll see you later this summer, see you in September. We're not going anywhere, though, Nick.
No. We'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week. We are here throughout the summer for you, as always. We'll just get a little weirder as the summer goes.
Yeah. Don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll be here.
Yeah. I think next week we're going to go through the second half of free agency. I'm very excited to know Nick's thoughts on Thomas Yurko and Thomas Nosek to the Vegas Golden Knights. So we're going to dive deep into that next week. I think that might be all we talk about, and taxes.
I think we should really do a deep dive on this tax situation.
I think so. Yeah, we'll get a tax expert in. If you know a tax expert, can't hurt to send up their information along.
Yeah. Might as well. We have nothing else to talk about.
Yeah. Who knows what we could get up to? But that's a thing that we could do. So yeah, we will be here providing you with the same show that you know and love.
Yes.
Which I'm very excited for. The Alberta Podcast Network has a ton of fantastic shows. One of them is a show that I think is relevant to us right now. It's called Don't Call Me a Guru. So if you were to call me a tax guru, I would say don't call me a guru. I just listened to a podcast about it once. Actually, I read an article on The Athletic about it once. That's what I did instead.
We should get that writer on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he probably also just like looked it up and
he's using that site that you're looking at right now.
That site, Oilers Nation. That's the site I'm looking at. So
we shouldn't promote Nation Network sites on the show, Carl.
Okay, noted. So Don't Call Me a Guru. It is a fantastic show. It talks about social media strategy. So if you're looking at different ways to improve that, go to don'tcallmeaguru.wordpress.com or all of your websites. Linda Huang does a fantastic job with this show. Recently had an episode talking about video games. I know you're one to play some video games. I personally do as well. And so they talked with one of the developers from BioWare. Actually, a game. No, you don't play. Do you play Anthem?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Anyways, this is one of the people who's the community manager for Anthem. He was on the show and had a great discussion about that with her. So social media marketing, a really interesting thing. I'm super interested in it. And Don't Call Me a Guru will give you all that you need to know about it. So head on over there. And if you want more shows, go to albertapodcastnetwork.com. Tune in. It'll be great. We'll be back next week. You can find us at the Fourth Line Podcast. You can find us at the fourthlinepodcast.com. That's right. I mean, if you went to albertapodcastnetwork.com, we're also on that website. Mm-hmm. But go to the fourthlinepodcast.com where you can find great stuff. We had great work from our writers as well this week, talking about the Sabres development camp. I believe we're going to have another Jersey article coming out this week as well. Great stuff over there. They're also not taking the summer off, which is fantastic. We'll be back next week. As mentioned, if you wanted to give us a review, that'd be great. Make sure to subscribe. This is your first time listening. If you listen the entire way through, treat yourself by subscribing so that you can find us easily next week. Nick, don't laugh.
Thank you for listening this far.
I hope it wasn't too taxing.
Oh, Carl, they've definitely logged off now.
Yeah, they actually threw their phone away.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. Shall we wrap it up then?
I think it's time for us to wrap up another
to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. It's time for us to go. You don't want us to go.
Welcome to the summer, folks.
Free agency and trades are exciting. But for God's sake, stop doing favors for the Maple Leafs.